big day because guess what? Chelsea Manning got out of prison. That's right. Hero, truth teller, whistleblower. That's the first steps that she took. Look at that. It says first steps to freedom, Chelsea Manning. What did Chelsea Manning really reveal? Well, let's go to Counterpunch for this. This is an article written by Bradley Manning Support Network, that there is an official policy to ignore torture in Iraq. Officially. The Iraq war logs, that's what they're called, published by WikiLeaks, revealed that thousands of reports of prisoner abuse, thousands of reports of prisoner abuse and torture had been filed against the Iraqi security forces. Medical evidence detailed how prisoners had been whipped with heavy cables across the feet, hung from ceiling hooks. Imagine you're the person who does that to another person. You don't know that person. You don't know who they are. You don't even speak their language. You don't even know anything. You don't know whose son, daughter, father. You don't know who that person is. And you're like, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to hang you upside down and hit you with a cable on the bottom of your feet. I'm going to do that. What? Yeah, that's what we do. I'm going to do that today. I'm going to go into your cell. I'm going to hit you on the bottom of your feet with... Why? That's because I can. Suffered holes being bored into their legs with electrical drills. So they would drill holes in people's legs. This is the United States. This is not Nazi Germany. This is not a concentration camp. This is the United States doing this.
And people were trained to do it.
People were trained to do it, paid. They urinated on them, and they sexually assaulted them. What didn't they do? This order is a direct violation of the UN Convention Against Torture. Exposing crimes committed by our country. U.S. defense contractors were brought under much tighter supervision after leaked diplomatic cables revealed that they had been complicit in child trafficking activities. This was also... What? U.S. defense contractors were doing some child trafficking? Because is there anything scummier in the world that we could be a part of? We're illegally invading other countries. We're ordering torture of innocent people to cover it up. And we're trafficking children. Also, we can make money. There's nothing scummier than what we did. There's nothing scummier than this. Trafficking children. Have orders that say you can't even report on it. DynCorp, a powerful defense contracting firm that claims almost $2 billion per year in revenue from the U.S. tax dollars, threw a party for Afghan security recruits featuring boys purchased from child traffickers for entertainment. This is what we do. We're over there doing this in Afghanistan. Right? We're exporting our values. DynCorp, get this, had already faced trafficking charges before this incident took place. Doesn't matter. You're a defense contractor. Here's a couple of $1 billion. Who gives a F? Come on. According to the cables, Afghan Interior Minister Hanif Atmar urged the assistant U.S. ambassador to quash the story. So, breaking, former Army intelligence analyst Chelsea Manning ordered to jail for refusing to testify to a Virginia grand jury investigating WikiLeaks. So they have a grand jury investigating WikiLeaks. So Chelsea's not going to answer their questions. And so they ordered Chelsea to prison. Glenn Greenwald says this is disgusting and all due to the efforts of the Department of Justice to criminalize the publication of classified information in order to prosecute WikiLeaks and Assange, something all press freedom groups, major newspapers, and even the Obama Department of Justice said would be a major threat to press freedom. So he's 100% correct about this. So what Julian Assange did was print. He published classified information. Now, that's exactly what the Washington Post did with the Pentagon Papers. And a publisher has never been held in a criminal offense for doing that. It's always it's only the person who steals those documents. Now, if you steal classified information, you give it to a publisher, the Washington Post, New York Times, WikiLeaks, and they publish it, the government has never prosecuted the publisher, except now. So an investigation into WikiLeaks for publishing is a grave threat to all journalists' rights, and Chelsea is doing us all a service for fighting it. She has already been tortured, spent years in jail, and has suffered more than enough. She should be released immediately. You know who said that? The guy who released the Pentagon Papers. That's Daniel Ellsberg.
We have seen is that so much of the information that's been released has informed the American people about actions that were taking place that they should be aware of. It provided transparency around issues both related to civil liberties as well as actions that our military was taking in the Middle East that they should not have been. So really, I think what's happening here is some form of retaliation coming from the government saying, hey, this is what happens when you release information that we don't want you to release. And I think that's why this is such a dangerous and slippery slope, not only for journalists, not only for those in the media, but also for every American, that our government can and has the power to kind of lay down the hammer to say, be careful, be quiet, and fall in line. Otherwise, we have the means to be able to come after you.
So you don't think that he should have been extradited, and you don't support his prosecution in the U.S.?
I think the charges about hacking, look, those can and should be worked out in the court of law. My point is that I think there's a bigger issue at play here. There's a reason why the Obama administration chose not to extradite and prosecute Assange, because they understood the danger. They understood the danger of the government coming in and controlling essentially what information is and is not being released. We can go back to the release of the Pentagon Papers as an example. We can look to how the American people have benefited from some of this information being released.
Daniel Ellsberg is America's most famous whistleblower.
An American hero.
He revealed decades-long lying by the government about the Vietnam War.
They knew we couldn't win and still sent boys to die.
And I began to see all that killing as murder. And murder, it seemed to me, was something that had to be stopped.
They're going to come after you, you know.
We've got to keep our eye on the main ball. The main ball's Ellsberg.
A hero and a truth teller.
We got to get this son of a bitch.
The American public needed to know how they'd been lied to and manipulated into that war.
Daniel Ellsberg risked being sent to jail for life.
And played a key role in ending the Vietnam War.
An American hero, Daniel Ellsberg.
I hoped that my example would make many other people realize, oh, I can do that, and that's the right thing to do. It didn't happen until Chelsea Manning.
Chelsea Manning leaked damning information on the government and what was happening in Iraq.
Images like these.
American helicopter gunners laughing as they slaughter civilians, and Reuters reporters.
Oh yeah, look at those dead bastards.
It seems like they are playing video games with people's lives.
It was a war crime. That shooting was murder.
Then came the Iraq war logs.
For every Iraqi combatant death, 2 innocent men, women, and children were also killed.
There were 5 9/11s worth of civilian deaths that hadn't been reported.
Here's something else Chelsea revealed.
We have been turning over thousands of Iraqi prisoners to Iraqi custody, knowing they would be tortured.
Direct violation of the UN Convention Against Torture.
1,000 orders saying do not investigate further. An illegal order, which goes right up to the commander-in-chief.
She couldn't in good conscience let these crimes go unreported.
Manning said, I'm prepared to go to prison for life or even be executed to get this out.
She's a hero exposing the crimes of our government and trying to make our country better.
Somebody had to do it.
She was sentenced to 35 years for this.
Chelsea Manning was locked in a cage 24 hours a day with no clothes.
The UN called it cruel and inhuman.
She was held in solitary confinement for the better part of a year.
Over the fact that she told us the truth about what our government was wrongfully doing.
The courage we need is not the courage, the fortitude to be obedient in the service of an unjust war, to help conceal lies. It is the courage at last to face honestly the truth and the reality of what we are doing in the world and act responsibly to change it.
And that's Chelsea Manning who did that. I'm here to celebrate an American hero a hero of mine. I'm Daniel Ellsberg. I support Chelsea Manning. I hope you will too. The public needs to know truths about government crimes or lies to act as a democracy. Is a different world possible? Yes. A worse world is very possible, and that's the way we're headed. We need more Chelsea Mannings in order to keep this country from becoming like Russia or China.
Hi, I'm Matt Orfala. These are my sources used with fair...
So that was Matt. That's a video by Matt Orfala, good friend who does lots of work for us too. And here's what Daniel Ellsberg said. Chelsea Manning is again acting heroically in the name of press freedom, and it's a travesty that she has been sent back to jail for refusing to testify to a grand jury. That's what Daniel Ellsberg says about it. Now, if you listen to jagoffs like Steven Spielberg and everybody who was in the movie The Post, they say that, no, it's different. Julian Assange and Chelsea Manning, it's all different. Except the guy who actually did it doesn't say that. So I don't know if you know about... Chelsea Manning revealed a lot of documents, and WikiLeaks published them. New York Times published some of them too. And it revealed lots of war crimes that the United States was committing. So this was a person who was a soldier, and while in the military, stumbled across all these war crimes that the United States was committing in the name of bringing freedom and democracy to the Middle East, and were committing war crimes. And so a person of conscience like Chelsea Manning decided to release this information so the American people knew what their government was doing in their name. And we have a right to know that. You want to hear Tulsi Gabbard? Here's a real leader.
Good to see you.
So you served 2 tours of duty in the Middle East. You're currently a major in the Army National Guard. Assange, along with Chelsea Manning, spread classified information that prosecutors at Manning's trial claimed could have brought harm to U.S. service members in Iraq and Afghanistan. Do you agree with that? And what do you think about Assange's extradition and prosecution in the U.S.?
Look, over time, there hasn't been any proof that has been brought to bore. And what we have seen is that so much of the information that's been released has informed the American people about actions that were taking place that they should be aware of. It provided transparency around issues both related to civil liberties as well as actions that our military was taking in the Middle East that they should not have been.
Here's something else Chelsea Manning revealed. Known Egyptian torturers received training from the FBI in Quantico, Virginia. According to a leaked diplomatic cable from Cairo, the head of Egypt's notorious State Security Investigation Service, SSIS, thanked FBI Deputy Director John Pistole for the excellent and strong cooperation between the two agencies. In particular, the FBI training sessions in Quantico, Virginia were of great benefit to his interrogators. Another cable documented what the U.S. Embassy considered, quote, credible allegations of human rights violations by the SSIS, including torturing prisoners with electric shocks, sleep deprivation to reduce them to a zombie state. The State Department authorized the theft of UN Secretary General's DNA. What? Did you know this?
No, I did not know this.
According to the National Human Collective Directive, a secret document that was signed by Secretary of State Hillary Clinton and published by WikiLeaks, U.S. diplomats were authorized to collect biometric and other sensitive information from top UN officials as well as UN representatives from other nations. The Obama administration allowed Yemen, this is another thing Chelsea revealed, the Obama administration allowed Yemen's president to cover up a secret U.S. drone bombing campaign. Barack Obama would never lie. He's not corrupt, right? We don't need to investigate Barack Obama. We need to investigate Trump. Since December 2009, President Obama has authorized a secret drone bombing campaign in Yemen. A year later, WikiLeaks revealed that Yemen's president Salih had agreed that his regime would, quote, continue saying the bombs are ours and not yours.
The image is disturbing and heartbreaking. Children pouring into a hospital, most of them under 10 years old, still wearing their backpacks and school uniforms covered in blood. After their school bus was hit by a bomb, a crater at the site of the airstrike, the smoke from the blast visible from miles away. Tonight, at least 29 children returning from a school picnic among the dozens killed. Aid groups demanding an investigation.
Children shouldn't be collateral damage.
These drone strikes have killed large numbers of civilians. So we're killing civilians in someone else's country. And that's why they've been going after Julian Assange ever since then. So that's why they want Julian Assange, is because he revealed war crimes of the military-industrial complex and the intelligence community in the United States. So breaking, former Army intelligence analyst Chelsea Manning ordered to jail for refusing to testify to a Virginia grand jury investigating WikiLeaks. So they have a grand jury investigating WikiLeaks. So Chelsea's not going to answer their questions. And so they ordered Chelsea to prison. Glenn Greenwald says this is disgusting and all due to the efforts of the Department of Justice to criminalize the publication of classified information in order to prosecute WikiLeaks and Assange, something all press freedom groups, major newspapers, and even the Obama Department of Justice said would be a major threat to press freedom. So he's 100% correct about this. So what Julian Assange did was print. He published classified information. Now, that's exactly what the Washington Post did with the Pentagon Papers. And a publisher has never been held in a criminal offense for doing that. It's always it's only the person who steals those documents. Now, if you steal classified information, you give it to a publisher, the Washington Post, New York Times, WikiLeaks, and they publish it, the government has never prosecuted the publisher, except now. So an investigation into WikiLeaks for publishing is a grave threat to all journalists' rights, and Chelsea is doing us all a service for fighting it. She has already been tortured, spent years in jail, and has suffered more than enough. She should be released immediately. You know who said that? The guy who released the Pentagon Papers. That's Daniel Ellsberg.